Looking to improve your squad on Ultimate Team? Visit iggm.com for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Use my promo code NA to get 5% off. What's good, y'all? For this video, we're going to be going over the 4-2-1-3, and the 4-2-1-3 is a really popular formation at the moment. I've noticed that a lot of the opponents that I play in Weekend League and Division Rivals, they're using the 4-2-1-3 or a formation similar to the 4-2-1-3. You know, there's a 4-3-3 as well. And you can tell with the 4-2-1-3, you can probably figure out it's pretty OP. You have two CDMs, you have that cam that can play Shadow Striker. That stuff is really popular right now, and it's obviously because it's really meta. It's really good in game. Now, the 4-2-1-3 was a formation that I experimented with when the game released, and at first I just hated it. And the reason being, the midfield just felt non-existent because you still have those two CDMs, and when you have two CDMs, it felt like there was a lack of connection between the two CDMs and the cam. So when the game released, I didn't like the 4-2-1-3 at first, even though other people liked it. But I think with these custom tactics, I was able to, find a solution to that. I was able to have a midfield that worked for me. I would say though, I feel like this formation is a lot more higher risk. I've noticed, the people over on my Discord, which you can join in the link in the description, I've had people that either completely hated the 4-2-1-3 or they just loved it. There was no middle ground for this formation. There is no, it's alright, type thing. It was either really, really good or really, really bad for many people. And it makes sense because, like I said, this formation is a lot more different than the other ones. But it's definitely still a really good formation. It just depends on, your playstyle. But real quick, it is pretty important that we talk about the team real quick. And for the most part, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you know what you need for good defense. And for good offense as well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Make sure you have pace on the wings and a good finisher up front. Now for your two CDMs, guys, if you're able to do the Sissoko SBC, I don't know if it's expired. It might be expired. I don't know if it is, but if it's not, please go ahead and do him, and then do the evolution if you can to bring him up. I don't even have the second evolution. I only have one of them on because I wasted the other one before the thing released. So, but even on just this, he's so good in game. And reason being, one, a long ball pass plus. You're going to be able to make so many long ball passes, chip ball or chip through balls, things like that. You're going to need someone in your midfield that has long ball pass plus. Not need, but this guy, it's going to be a game changer, so you're going to want it for sure. And the fact that he's really good on the ball as well. So with the CDMs, like I said, since the CDMs are still going to be really relevant in build-up, since you don't have center mids, you're going to need to be able to trust them to build up. So let's say, for example, you have like a stürmer or something like that who turns like a truck. He's super clunky. Then you're probably going to have a little bit of a hard time. Obviously, you can still do it, but if you're feeling like building up is hard, it might be because your midfield is just too clunky. And Sissoko is not clunky. He might feel clunky, or he might look clunky when he's 6'2", lengthy. He's not clunky. He's got technical plus. Real good card. Same thing with Caicedo. Even though Caicedo is really good in defense mostly, he's still pretty good on the ball. And yeah, self-explanatory, everything else. And then your custom tactics, as you can see that right here, you can see the code top left right there. And then real quick, counter build-up style. This completely varies. Me personally, I find counter to be perfect because the runs that the four players up front make, just beautiful. And then defensive approach high, set it to 61. And then before we go ahead and talk about the player roles, I would like to point out that if you're not already in our Discord server, go ahead and join with the link in the description. We have a lot of FIFA discussion pertaining to custom tactics, daily content, market trading. It's a really helpful resource if you're trying to get better at the game, or if you're just trying to talk about FIFA, maybe just, want somewhere to chill, I guess. And if you're not subscribed already, go ahead and do that. But yeah, real quick, just to mention one more time, build up style counter. I think I forgot to say this, but if you still find build up to be an issue, and when I say that, I'm saying that midfield, you're struggling to get passing options in that midfield because it is a bit of an untraditional structure when you have two CDMs and a cam, and you have left wingers instead of, let's say the 4-2-3-1 from last year, for instance. You still had a left cam and a right cam that made build up a little bit easier. You don't have this time around. So that middle of the pitch, you quite literally have less options than any other formation, So if you're still struggling with counter, then you can switch it to balanced, or I would not recommend it. You could do short passing. The reason why I don't like short passing personally is because my favorite part about this formation is once you get past that midfield area, you'll notice it in game, but as soon as you cross the halfway line, your inside forwards that's when they begin to make those diagonal runs inside. So you're going to be able to get those beautiful runs or beautiful through balls where the wingers are in between the fullback and the center back. And like I said, this only occurs once you cross around the halfway line. You don't have to cross, but it's somewhere between almost crossing and when you crossed it already. Just that general area is when they begin making runs. So counter is what maximizes that. Balance is like the middle ground for it, I guess you could say. And then short passing completely minimizes that, so we don't want to minimize it at all. Me personally, at least I don't. So counter was good for me, you know. But yeah, that's the build-up style. Player roles, advanced forward, very self-explanatory. If you're rocking any formation that has only one striker, 9 times out of 10 you're just going to use advanced forward. You're always going to get someone that, you know, pins back the defensive line with this. You're going to get someone that's always a problem for the other team. And he links up really well with the shadow striker, which I'll mention in a moment, but for the most part, for right now, we're going to talk about the inside forwards right here. And most importantly, there's a reason why they're on balance. You know, let's say in my 4-5-1 and my 4-1-4-1, we had them on attack, and we've changed it this time to balance because one, a right wing, left wing is completely different than a right mid and a left mid. They're obviously going to be higher up the pitch, and they're going to be less involved in build-up. And when you have a formation like this that does not have many players checking in for the ball in the middle of the pitch, you're going to want to do whatever you can to get the wingers involved in attack. And first things first, like I said, you already have a shadow striker right there, and a shadow striker is really good for goal-scoring opportunities for themselves. So you're going to need a player that's checking in, obviously. So it's really important that you have them on balance because sometimes they will check in to receive the ball to make themselves an option. Because if you have them on attack, they're just going to be too easy to close out by the other team's striker. And theoretically, the other team's fullback. But yeah, what you could theoretically do is you could obviously put them on attack, but I would highly recommend if you did put these guys on attack, you'd have to put the shadow striker on playmaker instead. And I experimented with that. I found it to still be useful, but I feel like in the end, you're still getting the same result in terms of performance, you know, in terms of scoring goals and things like that. But Shadow Striker is also just really good to begin with, so I wanted to use Shadow Striker. And with that being said, Shadow Striker, if you have a player that has a plus or the plus plus, I have Carney Chukwuemeka here because I was doing his Evo. But you have the plus plus or the plus, go ahead and slap him right here because the runs are going to be absolutely perfect. And it's bigger than just the plus or the plus plus that makes the runs perfect, but it's the fact that you have an advanced forward right here. And if you guys didn't know, obviously, the advanced forward is basically pretty similar to the poacher. However, think about it in last year's terms, poacher is stay central, getting behind, basically. And the advanced forward isn't. The advanced forward is more so just like it's more so just stay central. Now, I remember last year I'd have like a 4-4-2 where I'd have one striker on stay central getting behind, and then another one would just be on stay central. And the whole idea was for the stay central player to basically absorb the other team center backs while you have the other player making the runs in behind. And that shadow striker is going to be making a lot of runs in behind. And he'll make runs diagonally as well. So whenever that striker makes a movement, he's going to run into that player's space. So this position is more hard to explain, to be honest, because I've realized every single game he's basically surprising you almost with the amount of movement he's making and the types of movement he's making. But that's I'm sure you've seen how, you know, hyped up Shadow Striker is, so I don't have to talk too much about that. But you have your two CDMs here, and this is probably my favorite part about this custom tactic. Both of them are going to be on deep lying playmaker. Doesn't matter if you don't have the plus plus, just put them both on deep lying playmaker and then have them both on roaming. Here's a whiff ball structure before I forget. I keep forgetting to do these in the videos, but yeah, you have deep lying playmaker on roaming, and I want you to look at the activity maps or the heat maps for them. Specifically because, one, when you look at the Shadow Striker, he's not checking in short to receive the ball with the center backs, or sorry, the CDMs. So this might make you want to be like, okay, let's put him on Playmaker, because Playmaker will check in and receive the ball. However, Shadow Striker is really good. We want to use Shadow Striker. Shadow Striker is really meta. So you're put in like a conflicting situation. We've fixed that conflicting situation by having two deep lying playmakers on roaming. Now, if you had it on just regular, they're obviously still going to go forward, but you'll notice in game with roaming, they're going to get really, really close to the edge of the box. And not only just that, but they're not going to only just be at the edge of the box, but they're going to be traveling a little bit more horizontally in terms of the box. So they might be close to the corner of the box, or they might be right in the dead center of the box. It depends on, you know, where they might be needed. Because that's a really good thing about roaming. It's not literally where they roam, literally, but the player is going to move across larger areas of the pitch, while also within those larger areas moving to wherever the AI thinks he needs to be. So if you're in a situation where you have the ball at the left wing right here and you're pinned, this player is going to come short and receive the ball. So custom tactics that have roaming in them, from my experience, tend to do way better than custom tactics that don't have roaming in them. At least one player on roaming, at least, like a center mid. But yeah, that's that. Because we have those 2 players on roaming, they might, not they might, but they will hold wider channels sometimes. So that's why we have the fullbacks right here on defend. Normally I'm going to have them on defend regardless, but I'm more confident having them on defend this time because you're going to have these players. Sometimes you're going to lose the ball and these players are going to be screening the wider areas of the pitch. So you're going to have a lot of stability in terms of defense. So yeah, fullback on defend. Defender defend is the meta, really. Not even just the meta, that's like all you really can do for the most part. And then goalkeeper's complete self-preference. Like I said earlier, this formation's, I don't want to say risky, but this formation's really volatile. And what I mean by that is this might really work for someone and it might not work at all for someone else. I've noticed that, like I said, from the people in my Discord, we had people that significantly struggled with build-up, but we also had people that were using this formation to carry them all the way to elite. So it's a weird formation, to be honest. I want to say there's like a skill gap with this formation. You probably just have to be good at the game to make this work. But, I can't really assume because, some people just like certain formations. So, for me personally, this is definitely one of my favorite formations in the game so far, especially with those 2 CDMs. Because, like I said, I tried this formation when the game released, and it was the first formation where I was like, I cannot use this. But as time went on, I was like, you know what, I can make this work. And the biggest change that I had was putting those 2 CDMs on a deep line playmaker with roaming on them. Because don't forget, still having 2 CDMs to begin with is really good defensively. So as long as you can get that defensive stability to begin with, then you're going to make a lot of progress with this formation. Even if you're struggling for that first with build up, like I said, you have 2 CDMs and 4 defenders. So you basically have 6 defenders, essentially. So this is definitely a formation that if you're using and you're struggling, don't give up, because having 6 defenders to begin with is going to give you a lot of leeway in terms of, the overall game. Because if you have a really strong defense, then you can afford to not score while you're trying to, understand how to build up with this formation, how to find your passing lanes and things like that. Because like I said, it's not gonna feel the same way like a 4-5-1 or a 4-1-4-1 or things like that. Having 2 CDMs, they progress into attacking positions more slowly. You kind of have to progress the ball with it while dribbling a little bit. You have to find your cam to unlock the other team's midfield, things like that. It takes a second, so it's really important that you don't give up when you use this formation. It might not work for you at first, but I'm pretty sure if you work on it a little bit, it's going to work for you to be in the long run. And like I said, since you have that really good defense, you have 2 CDMs screening your defensive line of 4 defenders. I feel like you have a lot of leeway in terms of, of learning this formation to begin with. But yeah, that's everything for this video. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Other than that, like, subscribe, and that's all.